What have we got here and what's the point of it all?
Well, I suppose the point of this massive industry of running and cycling and triathlon and so on products is probably you could divide it into three rough categories. Things to eat before you run, really is just about providing you with a bit of energy. Things to take during your run, they're largely for endurance runners like yourself, so in a marathon. And then things to take afterwards to replenish what you've lost. A lot of these products don't claim necessarily to be about running, they just happen to be good for runners too. So they're not making world claims, they're just handy. Yeah. I find the best use for these in terms of running is at that point in the day when you know you're going for a run in a couple of hours, it's probably mid-afternoon and you need a little bit of a boost.
It's too late to eat a big meal.
Exactly, it's got a nice balance of protein and carbohydrates, it'll just see you through to the run and then you can have your supper afterwards.
I actually did that yesterday with one of these Chia Charge bars. They've got chia seeds in them, which is a high energy, high carbohydrate, high protein superfood. Yeah. But they are also very heavy.
These are shot blocks, and they are
they
basically
sound good. Shot blocks.
Yeah, sounds great, doesn't it?
Just what you need when you're running a shot block.
So you can see they are these kind of jelly things. Now I've tried these when I'm running, and I don't know if I'm just really stupid, but I cannot run and chew at the same time. But they're brilliant for, say, triathletes who need the carbs and the energy because they're doing the long distances. The gels are something that you would take during your run, especially if your run was an hour or more. All these gels are essentially carbohydrate gels. When you exercise at an intense pace, you start to work into your glycogen stores. So you need to replace it with some kind of carbohydrate.
And what happens if you don't? I've run marathons without taking it.
You don't have to take them. Plenty of people don't take anything at all and run brilliant marathons in amazing times. It's quite a personal thing. I think if you feel like you need them, then you almost do because you've convinced yourself that you do. Some of them also have caffeine in them. There is some science behind caffeine as a exercise booster, and it does give a sort of fairly short-term thing, but that might be all you need to get you through that little bump.
I rarely drink tea and coffee. Is that caffeine hit going to be too strong for me?
I suppose it does depend on how used to caffeine you are. I drink gallons of tea and I could probably take about 15 of these sachets and be like, caffeine? What caffeine?
Because I had one of these bars you take before you run.
Yeah.
And it was a caffeine bar. And I ate it, and I was only going for a 5-mile run, so it was probably a bit excessive, but I ate it. And I was sitting at my desk at work. About half an hour later, I realised I was shaking. I was sitting there, I was completely wired.
It does affect people in different ways. And I think that's the point with all of these products is, it's like your running shoes, you have to find the one that works for you. And I think once you believe it works for you, it probably does. The other thing is the products that are designed to take after exercise. Again, there is a lot of scientific research behind this that I think in the 15 to 20 minutes after intensive exercise, your muscles and your body is more receptive to the things you've lost, basically to having all this stuff replaced. So they say that you should ideally eat something or take a drink that's made up out of the same stuff within 15 to 20 minutes. I find that really difficult because the last thing I want to do when I come in 10 minutes after a run is eat. It just makes me feel a bit... But and some of the drinks are sort of designed with that balance of carbohydrate and protein, which is supposed to be ideal, so you could sort of try and drink something. Most sports drinks that you can buy are just electrolyte replacement, so they just help to hydrate you quicker than water alone, or so the ads tell you. So they're not doing the same thing as the gels. They don't have any carbohydrates in them. Most of these pre-mixed ones are basically just water with glucose and salts in them. So, I mean, you could make this yourself with water, a spoonful of sugar and a bit of salt. It would taste disgusting.
And it wouldn't be blue.
And well, that would probably be a point in its favour. And then, I mean, there's things like this, again, they're not claiming to be a running product, but they're really nice tasting, and if you're really thirsty or need to rehydrate yourself after a run. Obviously, the best thing to do is just to drink water, but I find that I sometimes don't drink enough water. I get to the end of the day, even just nothing to do with running, just been sitting in front of the computer all day. And if you have something that makes you drink a little bit more, takes more fluid on board, not necessarily a bad thing.
And what about these which replace electrolyte?
They're essentially what you lose through sweat and water loss when you're running. It's the same as a lot of the sort of sports drinks, they're just replacing what you've lost. Again, it's about convenience. These are just quite handy little things that you can pop in your bag and you've got in your training bag or something, or just put it in a water bottle. And these ones are actually really nice flavours too.
I'm kind of, in my life, I'm kind of naturally suspicious of things full of chemicals, and but I did source this chia alternative.
So you mix
so it's completely
up this
natural, yeah.
That.
It's just chia seeds floating in water. When you put them into water, they soften. No idea what the science is behind this, but it is considered a bit of a superfood at the moment.
Almost all these products can be replaced by something that's more natural, but reality is that you don't always have that option, and so they are a product of convenience. In some instances, there is a lot of scientific research that's gone into making them, and particularly with the gels, that isn't something that you can replace. Yeah. For me, I would say the most sort of useful product here would be the gels, and for me it's definitely the Science and Sport ones are just much more palatable than some of the others. Yeah. Everyone's individual, and like all things you have to find the ones that work for you, but for me the fruity flavours are much nicer than chocolate. I can't imagine wanting to take chocolate while I run.
I was once handed a chocolate one during a race and actually couldn't eat it. I do like this chia charge drink. I like the idea of running like a Mexican ultra runner.
Is that what the Mexican ultra runners take then?
These are the Tarahumara Indians in Born to Run book.
The
supposedly
barefoot ones.
The barefoot guys, they take and they run hundreds of miles for fun.
The funny thing is that when you talk to ultra runners, or the ultra runners that I know in the UK, one of the main things that they have to do when they start running ultras is train themselves to eat proper food as they run, which I would find impossible.
I mean, they eat hamburgers and
literally while running they're eating fruitcake. So
we're complaining about the weight of these bars.
Yeah,
there'll be a light snack for them.
But it's really about training your stomach to get used to it. And actually that's what people should do with gels. Before you run a race, you should try running and taking a jab. And a lot of these products, I mean, I really like them. I absolutely love these bars, but I'm just saying that they're not necessarily going to do anything that your normal, balanced, healthy diet isn't going to do anyway.